Hi, welcome back to my channel. I'm Randy Miller, and this is the Constitution of the United States, the Bill of Rights that I want to talk about because with everything happening with the hurricane that has literally destroyed much of the East Coast and the new one that's coming threatening all of Florida, there's a lot of things happening where government officials have decided they can take it upon themselves to suspend your rights if they declare a state of emergency, which they also have no authority to really do to declare a state of emergency. That's another topic. I did make a video on that for Arizona's proposition where they're wanting to authorize that. But for this purposes, there's a push that they believe they have the authority and the right to govern us as they see fit, and they do not. So the Bill of Rights is important because it sets a tone for a lot of things that we have to deal with governments that we can push back with. And one of those is the preamble to the Bill of Rights is very important. And the preamble is important because it sets the tone. It specifically states why the Bill of Rights are there, what they are, and specifically that government cannot touch them. And let me explain that to you. A couple of years ago, in his infinite wisdom, the occupier of the White House, Mr. Biden, has made a comment that your Bill of Rights are not absolute. Well, yes, they are. And it just further demonstrates the ignorance of those in Congress and the ignorance of those in the presidency running for presidency, where they feel they can govern by fiat and they have authority just because they have a title as president. Now they have the authority to do everything and anything they want that they believe they need to do. And that's not true. So when you're looking at the Bill of Rights, they are absolute. And we need to understand why they're absolute. And the preamble is very important. Not all printed constitutions are equal. Not all printed constitutions have the preamble. And those that omit it are doing an injustice to society and are not doing a good job at representing our constitutions to society. And here's an example of, although they have the Constitution in them, this one is a good one. It has a lot of other information, history on our founding fathers, Franklin, Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, Madison, Hamilton, Washington. Just read this because the information has the history on them and the states where they're from. It's very good, but it's missing the preamble. So that's not a good one to have by itself. Here's another one by Hillsdale College. It is missing the preamble, although it has the Bill of Rights and the Constitution, which it should have. It's missing a very important part of it. These two I like because it has everything. This is by the Cato Institute. Excuse me, this one. This is the Cato Institute that has printed a very nice, and it also has some history in there for you to read. That's good to know. And this one has the preamble to the Bill of Rights, which is very good. And it's simple, easy to read, and it allows you to understand what you need to understand in our Constitution. Is everything is there. So why is the preamble important? This is the written portion of it, what it looks like. Printed is always nice because it's easier to read, but we need to understand and be able to read written documents. But specifically what the preamble is, it is telling you that at the conventions, when the states had their conventions to ratify the U.S. Constitution, because we created the federal government, let's not forget, the states voted independently to accept or not accept the Constitution of the United States. We created it. The federal government did not exist without the states creating it for certain limited functions. And at our conventions, the states having at the time of their adopting the Constitution expressed a desire in order to prevent misconstruction or abuse of its powers that further declaratory and restrictive clauses should be added, and as extending the ground of public confidence in the government will best ensure the beneficent ends of its institution. Of its institution means we instituted this federal government. And the Bill of Rights is a purpose for everyone to understand that the government cannot misconstrue what they are because it's clearly written, and they cannot abuse their power over them because they are additional declarations or declaratory and restrictive clauses. They're declarations of the people added to the Constitution, and it's specifically restricting them from doing anything to them. And that means the 1934 Federal Firearms Act is unconstitutional. The 1968 Safe Streets Act is unconstitutional, and all the amendments that they made to them. So let's go and take a look at what are the amendments. Well, the first one is the First Amendment, specifically relating to Congress. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. What that means is that Congress will not establish religion. They will make no law that specifies we will be a Catholic country, we will be a Protestant country, we will be a Lutheran country, we will be Muslim country is not even an option because it's completely contradictory to our constitutional form of government. But it's specifically saying Congress cannot establish a religion, and that we will be free in the practice and exercise of the religion that we choose. They will not adopt anything that will abridge the freedom of speech, what we say, how we say it, or of the press. They're separate things. The individual's right to free speech is protected and restricted because it's a declaration of the people to Congress that they can't touch it. And the press is separate than the people. We can also write, so we can be the press. It's not a designation of a specific organization, although it was intended to protect written organizations or groups that write and publish. But we are also part of that. We are when we write an article, we are a press. We're journal. We're reporting and exercising our right to speech in written form. Or the right of the people to peaceably assemble, and to petition the government for redress of grievance. So we have the right to assemble, to discuss our issues, our government, good or bad, and make sure we can make the changes or promote changes that need to be made. And we have the right to petition our government for redress. Redress is a verb. It's an action. When we have a redress of grievances, we go before a city council, a school board, a board of supervisors, a state senate or house hearing, that's a committee hearing. We have a right to speak, but it's an action. They are not just to sit there and listen and put their feet up on the dais and pretend that they're doing something. They must interact with us and hear our complaint and have a discussion. That is what redress of grievances is. We work to solve our concern. The Second Amendment, a well-regulated militia being necessary for the security of a free state. That's important to understand. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So the militia is the people, and we are there to maintain the security of a free state. We are an independent sovereign nation, just like Italy or France or Germany. We are a free state governed by our own state constitution. And here, and to prove that, we have our own state constitution. And Article 2 is in Arizona, is our Declaration of Rights. And in it specifically says that the supreme law of the land, authority to exercise sovereign authority, again, it's acknowledging we are a sovereign state, a free state, that we can exercise sovereign authority against federal action, use of government personnel and financial resources. So basically what it's saying is that the state is saying we will not use our resources to enforce or cooperate with federal agencies that have an unconstitutional authority in our state. It also says that how we can do that is the people can pass a bill, pass an initiative or referendum that we acknowledge specifically the federal agency or group that is trying to exercise authority over us. We will not permit that. Or the legislature can do by passing a bill for the people to vote on. And what it says is if the people or their representatives exercise, this is C down at the bottom, authority pursuant to this section, this state and all political subdivisions of the state are prohibited from using any personnel or financial resources to enforce, administer, or cooperate with the designated federal action or program. What's missing in this is that, and they will inform the federal agency they're not authorized to operate within the state and they need to vacate immediately. Otherwise, it's good. Now let's look at Article 2, Section 5. Right of petition, again, redress of grievance. The right of the petition and of the people peaceably to assemble for the common good shall not be abridged. Section 6, freedom of speech in the press. It's the same thing as in the U.S. Constitution. Section 6, every person may freely speak, write, and publish on all subjects, being responsible for their abuse of that right. Now, Section 26 is like the Second Amendment. It says the right of the individual citizen, not anybody else, but citizen, to bear arms in defense of himself or the state shall not be impaired. Nothing in this section shall construe that the authorizing individuals or corporations or to organize, maintain, or employ an armed body of men. That is to protect us from insurgency type behavior. But the individual and groups of individuals have every right to get together and practice and train in defense of the state and in defense of themselves and in defense of an over oppressive government. So the fact that the federal government and those in power, those working for the people, think that they can eliminate or alter or do away with any of our First Amendment, Second Amendment, Third Amendment, any of our 10 amendments are sourly and sorely wrong. And I want to share one more thing with you. So this is what we are faced with, and people need to pay attention and understand what we're talking about. Okay. I'm sure you've all seen this, but let's look at it.
There's a lot of discussion now about how you curb those entities in order to guarantee that you're going to have, some accountability on facts, et cetera. But look, if people go to only one source and the source they go to is sick and, has an agenda and they're putting out disinformation, our First Amendment stands as a major block to the ability to be able to just, hammer it out of existence.
Kerry saying.
Okay, there you go. Mr. Kerry and many others, including Obama and including Ms. Harris, believe that any of our Bill of Rights are free for their molding and forming into anything that they believe they need to do that limits our information source, our ability to contradict what they want to say, and make them the dictator over what is truth and what is not. This will not happen. People must understand their rights. People must know their Constitution. People must read it. And we need to understand that the Bill of Rights are absolute. They cannot touch them. Second Amendment shall not be suspended based on a declaration of emergency. First Amendment rights shall be protected. All of them will be protected. The purpose of government is to maintain and preserve individual rights. And we have to remember that. We established government to maintain and preserve individual rights, as stated in our Declaration of Independence, second paragraph. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal and are endowed by their creator with certain inalienable rights. Inalienable means you cannot be separated from them. They cannot be legislated away. and they cannot be suspended based on their ridiculous idea they think they have a power to declare a state of emergency. And that among these rights means there are many more. We don't have to list them. That's why we have the Ninth Amendment, are the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to preserve these rights, governments were instituted among men. There you go. We created government to do this for us, to protect our rights. They must do that. Facebook, Twitter, they have no right to suspend your postings or say, we don't think that's truth. That is not their right to do. Government is instituted among men to protect those rights against these villains that think they have the right to destroy your freedom of speech. Anyway, I'm Randy Miller. Thank you for listening to my rant, and I'll hope to see you again soon. Thanks.